This chapter 2 of class 8 NCERT reader, microorganisms. The microorganisms were first seen by a scientist called Anton von Leeuwenhoek, and that's a microscope which he used to see those microorganisms. And you can see the white blood cells. They're not microorganisms, but cells in our body, red blood cells. He saw yeast cell. That's a microorganism. Sperm cells are from humans. Bacterial cells are microorganisms. Okay. He's a scientist who first observed these microorganisms and sketched them, right? So why do you call them microorganisms? Micro means tiny, very small, and that's why organisms which are microscopic, okay, very tiny, so they are called microorganisms or microbes. That's a reason why they call it microbes. Where do you find the microbes? Look at the places where you find the microbes. You find them in the air we breathe in, breathe out, in the water we drink, in the soil. Okay, they say like there are around 50 million bacteria in the soil, in the food we eat, in the sewage you will find them. Inside the body, there are plenty of bacteria living out in intestine, in the mouth, deep inside the ocean, in the streams, even inside the snow, in desert, in very harsh conditions like acidic soil, boiling water, you can see microbes. That means microbes are present everywhere on the surface of the earth. But you don't see microbes once you leave the earth. You go to outer space, you won't see any microbes, right? Look at the types of microbes. These are the different types of microbes: bacteria, fungi, algae, protozoa, and virus. We're going to study about each of this, right? And that's a bacteria. Look at the bacteria. The bacteria is made up of one cell. It's just made up of one cell, and whole organism is made up of one cell. So it's called single-celled organism. But they also call it unicellular, means made up of one cell. And what's the size of this cell? The cell is like 0.2 to 100 micron. Okay, what's a micron? What's a micron? Micron is a unit of measurement, right? Like in school, you use a ruler. Ruler has centimeter and millimeter. Okay, it's smaller than millimeter, right? Remember this. What's 1 micron? 1 micron is equal to 1 micron is equal to 0.5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros and a 1. Okay, that's 1 micron, or what? Meters. Those many meters, right? And it's a very, very small unit, 1 micron. And what's the size of bacteria? Between 0.2 and 100 micron. And you can see it has a cell wall followed by cell membrane. There is cytoplasm. But what's missing here? They don't have a nucleus. They don't have a nucleus. They have something called flagellum to swim in the water. And these are the features of the bacteria. Bacteria comes in different shapes. Like, humans you find in different skin color, different height. Similarly, you can find different shapes of bacteria. If the bacteria has a round shape, it is called the coccus. Coccus, cocci plural, coccus singular. Bacillus, rod shaped. This is rod shaped. Okay, and then you find spiral shaped. That's a spiral shaped, and this is curved, right? It's a curved one, or you can say comma shape, right? This is a comma shape, and these are the different types which are in your reader. This one, spirochetes, is not included in the reader. Okay, this is a bacteria which is round in shape. This bacteria has a name. This bacteria is called Staphylococcus. Okay, look at the coccus, means round in shape, and that's the name of the bacteria, Staphylococcus. Okay, it causes different kinds of diseases, but we don't study about them. And you can see that these are, you know, bacillus, rod-shaped bacteria, right? And what's the name of this bacteria? This is called Salmonella typhi. Okay, it causes typhoid, a disease called typhoid, right? And the next one, this you can see, these are actual electron micrograph. This is spiral. This bacteria has a spiral shape, and this bacteria is called Treponema. That's the name of the bacteria. Okay, Treponema. It's spiral shaped bacteria, and we have to just learn the name of the bacteria. Next one, and you can see this is curved, right? It's a curved bacteria. It's called Vibrio. One of the bacteria, Vibrio cholerae, that causes a disease called cholera, right? It's something like loose motion and dysentery, and this is another bacteria. Let's study about fungus. What are the features of the fungus, right? You might have seen different kinds of fungus. The most familiar fungus is known as mushroom, right? Look at the fungus. In a fungus, you can see thread-like structure. This thread is known as hyphae. Okay, that's called hyphae. It's made up of hyphae. See, hyphae forms root-like structure. It has spore-forming structures. Okay, and here you can see it's growing on the bread. So it's made up of hyphae, and you don't find chlorophyll. There is no chlorophyll. What's chlorophyll? It's a green substance you find in plants. There is no chlorophyll. That means it doesn't make its own food. It depends on other plants, okay, other plants or the other animals, and most of them, dead plants and animals for the food, and they can't prepare their own food, right? Okay, and they also cause diseases because they live on other living things, and if they live on other living things, we call them parasites. They can be parasitic. Parasitic means they live on other living organisms and obtain the food. So they become parasites. Parasites cause diseases in our body. And what's a type of nutrition is called? The nutrition is called saprozoic. Okay, what's the meaning of saprozoic? It releases enzymes, digests the dead plants and animals, and absorb the nutrients. Okay, how do we consume the food? We eat the food, enzymes digest in our stomach and intestine, and then we absorb it. But here they release enzymes into the dead plants and animals, into the bread, digest it outside. After digestion, it absorbs it back. Okay, this kind of nutrition is called saprozoic nutrition. They obtain the food by digesting the organic matter, means dead plants and animals. So it's called saprozoic nutrition. Those are characteristics of the fungus. To summarize, what are the characteristics of the fungus? They are made up of hyphae. They don't have chlorophyll. You don't find chlorophyll in this. That means they cannot make their own food. They do not make their own food, right? Next one, then how do they get the food? The food is obtained by saprozoic nutrition. What is that? It depends on dead plants and animals for the food. Okay, they depend on dead plants and animals for the food. These are the common characteristics of all fungi. These are some examples of the fungi. The first one is yeast. We use the yeast for baking. You can see it's made up of one cell. It's unicellular, made up of single cell. Look at the shape. It's like ovoid. This shape is called ovoid shape, right? And this is another one. This is a fungus called candid. Candid causes a disease called candidiasis. Okay, that's a disease, but we don't study about the disease. We just study about the name of the fungus. And this fungus has almost round structure. This is round in shape, and this one is spherical in shape. Okay, this one is used for making bread. And what's the scientific name of this? This is called Saccharomyces. Okay, that's a scientific name of the yeast. Yeast is called Saccharomyces. And this is the second kind. It's called Candida. Candida is the name of the fungus, and it's circular in shape. Okay. Some of the fungi, here you can see that's a fungus that lives as on other living things. They are parasitic. Parasitic means they cause diseases, right? In plants as well as animals. These are the ones that cause diseases in plants. These ones are called mildews. You can see now the fungus is growing on the leaf and white patches, right? And then it's a parasitic form. It can find them, growing on the potato. You find them growing on the potato. You can find them on the grapes, on the wheat, okay, and even on the rose plant. Right? These plants are affected by mildews, right? And they are unicellular. Actually, they are made up of one cell. Unicellular means made up of one cell. They are parasitic. They affect plants, right? And this second one is called molds, right? Molds are um, basically, multicellular, right? They are multicellular fungi. And being multicellular, you always find a network of hyphae, right? There's a network of hyphae present in the molds, like, bread mold. On the bread, you can see molds grow, the bread mold. If you look at the bread, the first picture, we have seen that, you find many hyphae grows on that and they form spores, right? And that's a bread. Bread mold is an example of multicellular hyphae, right? It's a multicellular fungus. Okay, that's another fungus. This fungus is actually known as penicillium. That's the name of the fungus, and it's a beneficial fungus. We get an antibiotic from this fungus. The name of the antibiotic is called penicillin. Penicillin is the name of the antibiotic. Okay, and what's use of penicillin? It's used for treating bacterial diseases in humans. Okay, we can treat bacterial diseases using penicillin. So that's a benefit of having this kind of fungus. This is known as the penicillium. Name of the fungus is penicillium. That's the next kind of fungus, and this fungus is called aspergillus. Okay, it's called aspergillus. This fungus causes diseases. It's a disease-causing fungus. In humans, it causes disease. So it's a parasitic fungus. That's a parasitic fungus. Okay, this is a fungus we are familiar with. This class of fungus is called mushroom. This one is called mushroom. And if you look at mushroom, when you buy mushroom at home, just take this part of the mushroom and rip it open. You can see it's made up of hundreds of hyphae. Okay, it's composed of hyphae, many hyphae packed into one structure. We call this like interwoven hyphae. It's made up of interwoven hyphae, right? And thousands, not one or two, thousands of hyphae. And this one has a name. It's called agaricus. Okay, the common mushroom is known as agaricus. It's used as a source of food. And these are called lichens. Lichens are again microorganisms, but if you look at them, they look so big. Then why do you call it microorganisms? And you see them growing on the tree. You might have seen them growing on the tree or on the surface of the rock. They look huge. You can see without a microscope. You still call it a microorganisms because it is made up of two different microorganisms. Look at this picture. It has two different microorganisms. One is called algae, and that's green. The green part is algae, and the other part is fungus. Okay, we have studied that fungus has no chlorophyll. This doesn't have chlorophyll. Fungus doesn't contain chlorophyll, but algae contains chlorophyll. As it contains chlorophyll, it takes energy from sunlight and make its own food. Food is made. The algae makes a food. And to make the food, the algae needs water and mineral ions. These two things are absorbed by the fungus. Okay, let's say that's a rock or it's a tree. It's attached to the tree. From the tree, like roots, it absorbs water. It absorbs mineral ions. Okay, and supply these things to the algae. Using those things, algae makes food. And what the algae does? Algae give the food to the fungus. So here you can see both are mutually benefited. Okay, and this relationship in which both are equally benefited is called symbiosis. What is symbiosis? It's a relationship in which both the organisms are equally benefited. So that means lichens are not one organism. Lichens are not a single organism. Lichens are a combination of two different microorganisms, two different microbes together form lichen. And what are the two microbes? One is algae, and the second one is called the fungus. Okay, lichens are made up of algae and fungus. Okay, and here you can see the lichens are growing on the rock. It has the ability to break down the rock, and once lichens disappear, it is replaced by a new kind of plants known as ferns. Ferns appear. That's a fern. Okay, ferns take over the place, and then when the ferns die, the herbs and shrubs take over, right? So it all starts with lichens. When lichens die, ferns appear. Ferns die, the herbs appear. When the herbs die out, the shrubs appear. Okay, that's how plants keeps changing. Then the trees appear. That's a final group of plants which you will see on the surface of the rock. Okay, let's study about algae. Look at the algae. What are the features of algae? If you look at the features of algae, there are some common features. Algae have chlorophyll, number one. You can see they're green in color, right? Because of chlorophyll, they can make their own food. They make their own food. But they don't have root, they don't have stem, okay? They don't have leaf. They don't have root, stem, and leaf. That's another special feature of algae. And what's the size of the algae? Algae can be as small as one cell. Okay, one cell. One cell means it can be of 1 micron. Just 1 micron. Remember, this is a sign of micron. 1 micron to many meters. It can be very big, like seaweeds. I'll show you the picture on the next slide. Seaweeds, they are huge in size. They are multicellular. Multicellular. Okay, they look like big plants on the land, but they don't have stem, root, and leaf. Okay, and there are different kinds of algae. Some algae are green in color, so you call them green algae. Some are red in color, so they are known as red algae. Some are brown in color, so they are known as brown algae. Okay, and so on. That's a classification of algae, and some of them are known as blue-green algae. So algae is classified according to the color. Okay, and what gives a color? Different kinds of chlorophyll present in it. Okay, some of them have green color, some of them are red, some are brown, and some have blue-green color. Right? These are different kinds of algae. Okay, this is a green algae. What you see here down is one-celled algae. Algae made up of one cell. This is a green, both are green in color, you can see. But this is called seaweed. This is a green algae. That's a green algae, but we call them seaweed. So you can see it has leaf-like, stem-like structures, but they are not leaf. Okay, they are not leaf. It's a green algae which lives in the ocean, right? And that's one-celled algae. This is the, look at the color. This is red algae. It lives deep inside the ocean, okay? And it's called red algae. And the next one, this is brown algae. See the color? It's brown in color, right? But they all can do photosynthesis. I mean, they can make their own food. So, but they live at different depth in the water, in the sea water. And what you see here is blue-green algae. See the color? It's floating on the surface of water. Blue-green algae, right? So that's another type of algae according to the color. And this algae is one-celled. It's made up of one cell. They call this algae diatoms. Okay, they are called diatoms. Okay, diatom. It's like made up of two parts, so they call them diatoms. It's a kind of green algae, but it has special features. That's why it's counted as a special group. Okay, diatoms. Now let's study about the next group. The next group of microorganisms is called protozoa. It's called protozoan. What are the features of protozoan? Protozoans are made up of simple cells. They are actually animal cells. They are animals and made up of one cell. Animals made up of a single cell. So we call them unicellular animal. They are called unicellular animal. What's the size? 2 to 200 micron. Learn the size for each group. They can ask in the exam. Being an animal cell, you don't find the cell wall. There is no cell wall. Here, you don't see the cell wall. These are some examples over here. What you see here, this one is called euglena. That's a euglena. And this one is called amoeba. And this is called paramecium. Okay, paramecium is the name of this organism. Amoeba, paramecium, and euglena are three different kinds of organism. We'll see more pictures in the upcoming slides. Look at this. That's a paramecium, and this is amoeba. That's a euglena, right? And down you can see this one is called trypanosoma. Trypanosoma. It's a parasite. It causes diseases in us. Okay? It causes a disease called sleeping sickness. In Africa, you find this disease. The person who get the disease keep sleeping and they die in the sleep, right? It's called sleeping sickness. This is another parasite, and this parasite is called plasmodium. Plasmodium causes a disease called malaria. This causes a disease called malaria. Okay, so these two are parasitic, but they live in the water. These three lives freely in the water. They don't cause any disease. Okay, let's study about virus. What's special about virus? Okay, virus is the smallest microorganism. Smallest microorganisms. You can't see it with a microscope. No, the microscope in your school is called light microscope. That's a normal microscope. We call it a normal microscope. It's called light microscope. Through this, you can't see it. You need a special microscope called electron microscope to see. What's the reason? It's very, very small. And what's the size of this? It ranges from 0.015 micron to 0.2 micron. It's really, really small. And it comes in different shape. It has only just two parts. Outside, those flower-like part is known as the protein coat. It is surrounded by a protein coat. It doesn't have cell wall, cell membrane, cytoplasm, nothing. Only two parts. And inside you find a genetic material. What's the meaning of genetic material? Means it has the genes of the virus. So only just two things in virus. Okay, it has protein coat, a covering of protein, and it has genetic material. They call the genetic material DNA or RNA. Okay, so only two parts: no cytoplasm, no cell membrane, no other parts. But virus comes in different forms and shape. Look at the shapes of the virus. Okay, some of the virus are like rod shaped. See, that's a rod shaped virus. Many are spherical. Okay, some of them are like, spiral, twisting and spiral. Okay, and some of them are like polygonal. Okay, look like, polygonal shape. So they come in with different sizes and shapes. This is a virus known as bacteriophage. Okay, it's a special kind of virus called bacteriophage. What's a bacteriophage? It's a virus. And why do you call it bacteriophage? Because this virus lives in the bacteria. It lives in the bacteria. So the actual name of the virus is phage. As it lives in the bacterial cell, they call it bacteriophage. Okay. Again, you can see outside what you find protein. It's all made up of protein. There's a protein covering. And inside you find a genetic material. That's a genetic material, or the genes of the virus are located here. Okay. Only two parts. Everything else is made up of protein. And look at the virus. Outside the body, outside the body of plants, animals, and bacteria, virus is non-living. It's non-living. Look, this is a bacteriophage. That's a bacteriophage. And this lives in the cells of bacteria. How does it live in the cells of bacteria? It sticks to the bacteria. See, this is the bacteria. What you see here is the bacteria. And after sticking to it, it transfers its genetic material, which is DNA, into the bacteria. And once it enters the bacteria, this is the DNA of the bacteria, genetic material of the bacteria. And the DNA of the virus, okay, that's the DNA of the virus. So we call it viral DNA. It will destroy the bacterial DNA. See, DNA of the bacteria is destroyed, and the viral DNA is hijacking the bacteria. And here, using the bacterial cell, the virus will form its body parts. See, after forming the body parts, the bacterial cell breaks. See, it will burst, releasing the new virus. The new viruses come out. So, so it's living in the bacteria. Similarly, it can live in the plant cells. It can live in the animal cells. When it enters our body, it causes disease. For example, the coronavirus, which enters your body, you get disease. Otherwise, it's harmless. It doesn't cause any problem. It enters plant cells and cause diseases, right? But outside the plants, outside the animals, outside the bacteria, it's harmless. It's almost non-living. Look at this. These are some of the viruses. This is called tobacco mosaic virus. Okay? And it infects the cells of tobacco plant. See, the leaves of it infect the leaves of tobacco plant. And you can see the leaves are getting damaged. Remember, tobacco leaves are used for making cigarettes. When the leaves are damaged, they can't use it for making cigarette. This is a virus called polio virus. Okay, see the disease called polio. It enters our body and cause weakening of neurons and muscles. And these children, mostly affect the children. When the children are affected, they cannot walk because they get weak muscles, and the nerves that connect the muscle to the brain are affected. They cannot walk. They get crippled by the disease. That's another virus. This virus is called measles virus. That's a measles virus. What does this virus do? It causes a disease called measles, right? And in measles, you get uh, this kind of appearance on the skin. The eruptions appear on the skin. This disease is called measles, and this is called chickenpox. That is the chickenpox virus. This is the chickenpox virus, and this virus causes chickenpox. See, look at the next one, and that's called HIV. That's another virus. What does this virus cause? It causes a disease called AIDS. What does the AIDS do? It makes our immune system, the white blood cells on in our body are destroyed by the virus, you get immunity and you're killed by other diseases. So these are the different types of microorganisms. Thank you very much. Hope you understood. Read through the reader and use this for recapping the lesson too. Okay, thank you.